Good morning, dear listeners. Today we come to the last chapter on the seventh principle of reality, which is the principle of gender, as it is explained in the Kybalion and in my commentary book, The Seven Laws of Reality and Being by Max Corradi. And today we speak a little bit about the principle of gender in the Buddhist Tantric Tradition. So for whoever is knowledgeable about Buddhism, Buddhism has a sutra tradition which is more common and spread around the Eastern globe, that is India and Thailand and Japan and China and some other places, but it also holds a Tantra Buddhist tradition. So we're not going to details of the history of Buddhist Tantra, which is different from Hinduist Tantra in some parts. In some parts there are similarities, but that's a whole different topic and a very big subject to study. We're not going into it here in this podcast because we just want to concentrate on the principle of gender and how it is represented in the Buddhist Tantric tradition, where we find male and female deities represented, which we can also see in, probably we all have seen some tankas, Tibetan portraits of deities, paintings, and other in other maybe in museums we can see like statues of male and female Buddhist deities. Now it is maybe for some people it's a little bit strange, because Buddhism is not actually a theistic religion or a philosophy, or it's simply Buddhism. It's simply an ontology system which aims at liberation from the cycle of birth and death. And so in the Buddhist tradition we have these enlightened deities. These enlightened deities are differentiated from what they're called sort of mundane deities, which are still attached to the cycle of time, birth and death, although they live an incredible length of time, so it's also beyond our capability of understanding. But the Buddhist deities are the expression of the play of reality itself beyond gender. So although they manifest in a male and female forms, the Buddhist deities are beyond gender. They're not male, they're not female, because their essence is the state of awakening, which is beyond time, beyond manifestation, and beyond gender, and beyond any other relative law of reality. But they self-appear in a sort of because of the clarity of this timeless state of being, of mind. And they appear because they also have a function of compassionate action. So in order to liberate sentient beings trapped in the wheel of time and the wheel of samsara, and the primordial timeless state of pure being manifests as male and female deities. And these are personification of wisdom for the benefit of those in samsara. Now, deities are and remain timeless symbols of the play of reality. They're individual and yet without any identity. So they're individually represented, manifested, but they are beyond identity. So otherwise, if they were grasping at an identity, they would be mundane deities. They would be like sentient beings. They would be like human beings or animals. But they don't. They do not grasp at a reality at an independent interdependent reality or interdependent identity, also self, we can call it, and they are basically just the manifestation of non-duality, but they do manifest in form as male and female deities. Oh, there are like literally hundreds of these deities, and they're probably infinite in the universe, possibilities of manifestations. So we cannot put a limit on how many Buddhist deities they are, but we know some of them because they transmitted their wisdom to human beings or to other beings, and this wisdom has passed through from teachers to students and practitioners, which awaken themselves by using these symbols of the deities, because these deities become the catalysts of the whole pervading power intrinsic to the to the mind of pure being. So you can catalyze the potentiality by using this transformation or these symbols. We're not going to these details because this is something that should be transmitted by a teacher to a student through empowerments, etc. And there are many Tibetan teachers which do give empowerments of deities. So we're not talking about that now, but we can just mention, to wrap up, also that Carl Jung, the psychologist, did discover and studied these deities, and he called them archetypes, which cannot be arbitrarily created. So you cannot just invent your own deity, because they are manifestation of enlightened awareness of pure being. So it maybe once one is completely enlightened, but it's not something that one can just invent. It has to be transmitted, and there are methods related to different traditions, and each deity has a precise function. But although each deity has a precise function, so we have long life deities, wisdom deities, compassionate deities, they all share exactly the same wisdom. There is not one deity which is better than another, and one deity has no more wisdom than another deity. One deity has no more compassion than another deity. They all have the same wisdom, compassion, but they manifest emphasizing a particular action. So deities might emphasize wisdom as an action, and through that deity one can particularly concentrate on developing wisdom. But with wisdom one will develop all the other infinite qualities of enlightenment, and the same with compassion, and the same with power, etc. So this conclude the presentation of the aspect of the principle of gender in the Buddhist Tantra tradition, and we will continue with more podcasts on the other principles and the practical applications of the 7 principles according to the Kybalion. Thank you for listening.